Today, we're going to talk about the Grandmaster list of Turo versus Getaround in 2025. Which is better? I'm going to give you the full breakdown of pros and cons on both. I do this once a year, typically at the beginning of the year. And I will say this year is the first year where I will tell you that it's not clear anymore. It used to be very clear which was better in the years past. I will tell you this year, we have a very close race, in my opinion, coming for 2025 when it comes to Turo versus Getaround. There is a lot of interesting stuff I want to bring up today that you should listen to, and a lot of details. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I'm pretty dialed into what's going on at Getaround. Now, I know that Getaround has had its issues over the years. I actually think this is the year that the kid brother of CarShare is actually going to make some progress moving forward. Before I get into that, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. Also, now I am allowing everyone on the channel to book a free 15-minute call with me just to figure out how you want to get your car business started, or if you're having an issue with your car business. I want to get to know everyone more on the channel this year, so that is something that I want to offer. If you want to book a free 15-minute call with me, download the PDF and you will be sent my calendar. So let's start with Turo. Some of the pros that I want to talk about with Turo this year. Obviously, name recognition. They're pretty well known at this point. I would say that at least half the population knows who Turo is. Obviously, after the recent terror attack, a lot more people are going to know who Turo is, unfortunately. But any news is good news. People are understanding that you can rent cars from other people, just like as if it's a car for Airbnb. So that is definitely something that is good for Turo hosts. Typically speaking, cars get rented out on Turo. I can't guarantee how much money you're going to make, but they do get rented out. I would say that the new partnership with Uber drivers for delivery, I think it'll be probably a good thing for them. In my opinion, this industry is very much moving in the direction of rideshare drivers. I'm just telling you, whether you like it or not, that is how it's going. And I see this all over the place, and I see that the real money in this business is with rideshare drivers. Overall, Turo has great flexibility in profit splits and insurance. That has always been one of their strengths. I think it's really great that they give so much flexibility and so many options on the insurance side of things, and really allow you to calibrate your insurance and profit splits based on how big your business is, whether you are just a one-car shop or if you have 100 cars. In terms of their claim system, I think it's pretty solid. I've never heard of any issues with claims. The big thing with them is that you just have to follow their instructions, do everything they say to do. They have a very specific process. If you follow that, they will pay things out. And lastly, I would say that Turo is really the premier platform for renting out luxury and exotics at this point. I really wouldn't touch anything else if I had exotics or luxury cars. I think Turo is definitely the way to go for those types of cars. Some of Turo's cons. Margins are compressing due to oversaturation on this platform. Now, that's obviously normal. That's going to happen over time, but I do think that this is becoming a problem on Turo. I've seen in my own fleet, the cars we rent on Turo, they're not doing a ton of money. It's not that impressive. So in my opinion, I don't love it. I've never been a huge Turo user. I use it some, but I really prefer not to, but I will use it on occasion if I need to. But I'm seeing this definitely, the saturation and the margins are definitely starting to compress on Turo. I would say the ratings system is getting so punitive that it's just getting very hard to operate on Turo. I mean, as a host, you're stressing about every little detail about the car, and if anything is off with the car and you get a bad review at all, I mean, you'll get kicked off the platform in many cases if this happens 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It's very stressful many times to deal with the Turo rating system. I don't love it. I would say that it's just very frustrating. Obviously, I've heard of a lot of different operators being kicked off of Turo because their maintenance score isn't high enough. It's very, very difficult to maintain high ratings many times with Turo. And I get that they want to have a standard of excellence for their platform. That's great. I just think that if you're not a scaled shop and you don't have like multiple cleaners and a smooth system, it's very hard to do that if you are just a one-person shop. Obviously, I've heard a lot of hosts are not happy with the Uber partnership. What I would say to those hosts is that you're just going to have to get used to rideshare drivers in this industry. The days of just retail renters renting cars and you making lots of money, it's not going to happen anymore. Those days are going away. You're going to have to get used to rideshare drivers driving your car. That's just the only way it's going to go. Another con, if you want to put mileage limits on your car, they force you to do outrageous discounts for long-term rentals. So I've seen some folks where they had to give up a car for a month and they only made $500. I mean, that's ridiculous. That would be grounds for getting rid of the platform in my company. So that component that they've introduced in the last year has been really frustrating for hosts. Overall, I feel like Turo still is a good platform, and it depends on what kind of business you have. Like I said, if I had exotics or luxury cars only, I would pretty much only rent them on Turo. So if I was in that type of model, I would definitely be into Turo. However, if I had cheaper cars, there's a lot of different ways to handle cheaper cars these days, in my opinion, that are better. On that topic, let's get into Getaround. So what I want to tell you is that with Getaround, I've been piloting their program up in Boston with multiple cars. We have about 15 cars that are on Getaround in Boston. We've got them on the Drive with Uber program. They also have allowed me to beta test the 80-20 split. What I would tell you is that it is very, very good. And what I'm seeing is that revenues are coming in around $1,400 to $1,600 each month, gross revenue, and we barely have to touch the car at all, and because it is out all the time. So that is why I think that Getaround is in for a big year, because what I'm seeing with them up in Boston in my own fleet is very impressive so far. On that topic, another pro with Getaround, they are finally introducing profit splits. Historically in the past, they've only allowed 60-40. They are now introducing 70-30 and 80-20. I have taken advantage of the 80-20 splits up in Boston. What I can tell you is that it makes a lot more sense to work with Getaround when it's at 80-20. Like I said, we're seeing gross revenue around $1,400 to $1,600 a month per car on the Drive with Uber program. That is significantly better for our company. I would say Getaround as a whole, as a company, has finally stabilized. They had a very rough 2023. Things have gotten back in order in 2024. They went through a big round of layoffs. Now they've settled. They have the team they want. I've talked with the new team. I think they're very good. And so I think that overall, the company overall has stabilized and is in a good place for 2025. Their risk technology, or their trust score, has stabilized as well. So if you remember in early 2023, they were charging $1,500 deposits for every single renter. And so it was scaring off everyone's renters. That has gone away. That's not an issue anymore. What I would tell you that I have found very interesting about their renters this past year is that we never have any accidents anymore. I used to have accidents on Getaround quite a bit. We haven't had a single accident, knock on wood, with 15 cars in the last 9 months of being on Getaround. They are getting very good at finding good drivers to rent your cars. Another surprising benefit of Getaround drivers is that for whatever reason, they put very low mileage on the cars, even in the Drive with Uber program. From what I've seen, the Drive with Uber program, they're typically putting around 2,000 to 3,000 miles a month on the car, which, if you have any experience with Uber drivers, is pretty low. Typically, they put on about 4,000 to 5,000 a month. That's a surprising benefit that I've seen with the Drive with Uber program so far. Another good thing that's happened with Getaround, I would tell you that the claims system has stabilized. There were a lot of issues with that a year and a half ago. That has ironed itself out. Things are under control in that department now. Another nice thing about working with Getaround is that the account management team can give you data once a month based on where the best zip codes are with regards to where to place your cars. Now, they've always had that option, especially if you've had 3 to 5 cars or more. Now they are basically requiring you to have 5 cars or more to work with the account management team to get that information. But you can still work with the junior account managers and get information from them with regards to where is the best area to place those cars. They still have all of that data, which is very useful. I use it pretty regularly. I have a texting relationship with my account manager at Getaround. So they will literally just text me the data once a month. And so I can take a look at that. I can tell my team in Boston to move cars appropriately. Lastly, I would say that they just have great tools on the platform. I really like their calendar that shows you all the different bookings. It is a visual calendar that can give you a good idea of when things start and end. You can block things off. It's very simple to use. It has a very nice interface. So let's get into Getaround's cons. I would say that if you are outside a Drive with Uber market on Getaround, it's not going to be great. That's just the reality. It's just not going to be great with Getaround. So if you're just trying to do car share, no rideshare drivers on Getaround, Not going to be great. The reality is that the cars will maybe do 800 to 1,000 a month in revenue when they are not in the Drive with Uber program, and I would say that's even generous. Consistency has always been a problem with Getaround, but I would say that the Drive with Uber program really evens this out, even in the winter months. So in the past, I've seen January and February be awful months. Maybe December is an awful month for revenue. This past December, we had a record month. So I would tell you that the Drive with Uber program levels out the consistency throughout the year and really gives you a more stable revenue throughout the year. Because if you think about it, winter is definitely high season for Uber drivers because nobody wants to walk around.
Another con I would say is it's not as well known as Turo. A lot of people, even who are in this industry, don't know much about Getaround. It's not a super well-known company. Even when I talk to fleet operators, they really don't know much about Getaround, but they are always kind of intrigued to hear what's going on with them. So another thing that's kind of not great about Getaround right now is that the profit splits, the 80-20 and the 70-30, probably won't be available nationwide until Q2 of this year. They are available in Atlanta right now, however. And then lastly, the payouts aren't as fast as Turo, but they have gotten better. They now pay out on the 1st. So in the old days, all of December's revenue would be paid out on January 15th. Now they pay it out on January 1st, which is nice. So at least it's not going too long without it. Overall, I would tell you that if you are in a Drive with Uber market, in the 80-20 plan with Getaround, you are going to have a better experience with your car rentals, especially if they are cars under $30,000. You're going to have a better experience than Turo, I would say. If you have cars that are over $30,000, I would definitely probably put them on Turo. So this is the first year, I've ever said this before, where I really do think that Getaround is going to make some major headway and some growth this year. I think they're poised for a real expansion in this industry. Finally, they have ironed out all these different issues they've had over the years. I am thrilled to see that they are in a place now where they've taken some of my suggestions, they've taken other host suggestions, they are listening to people, and they are really making some great changes that I think will make them ready to move forward in a significant way. Drop some comments below. Would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Before I go, click below, grab the 5 things you must do before starting a car rental business. Also, feel free to book a 15-minute call with me, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.